So, welcome to another episode of Pedalling Past with me, Guy Kesterman, my wife Sarah Kesterman, and special guest star this time, mountain bike photographer extraordinaire, Steve Bear. Because we're down in Windsor, we're by the River Thames at the moment, as you can see. And we're going to take you on a 45 kilometre, 30 mile-ish time travel gravel spectacular through this historic town of Windsor, out across the Great Park. Are we going then, Steve?
We're going to head out across
then Ascot, isn't it?
Then through Ascot, through the racecourse.
Through the racecourse, you know, the wealthiest racecourse in the UK. And then we're looping back through some, Steve's promised us some amazing gravel riding around the sort of quiet back roads of the area. And then looping back in on the other side of the river through Eton. So, loads of history, loads of brilliant gravel riding, and a whole lot of royalness.
Absolutely.
That's what Steve's promised us.
Yep.
So, we hope you join us today on video and then come and do this route yourself. There'll be a GPX file below this video and little route notes as well, and I'll create a web page as well which will support this route. We'll have some photos on it too. So, I think that's about all we need to say, isn't it? Before you join me, Sarah and Steve, for some time travel gravel at Pedalling Past. So here we are in Windsor itself. Very, very busy town. Really, I mean, obviously quite unsurprisingly quite touristy, but a beautiful town. A lot of the buildings left now are Georgian, and of course got the huge castle here, which I'll talk about in a minute. But interestingly, this is New Windsor. Old Windsor, which was the old Saxon town, that was where the royal residence was in the Saxon period, and it wasn't until about 1170 that King Henry started building New Windsor. Which was, it had a bridge, it had basically, it had the castle, it had a leper hospital, all the mod cons you need for a medieval model town. And fantastic place to spend some time looking around before you start on the route proper. They've still got the bunting out from the Jubilee as well. Yeah, proper place to explore this. And here we are at the entrance to Windsor Castle itself, the largest and longest continuously occupied royal castle residence in Europe. Started with Henry I in 1100. And it's been gradually updated, made more and more fancy, made larger ever since by various royal occupants, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I. Loved staying here. And it started with the small Motte and Bailey in the centre there that you can see, straight after the Norman Conquest. I mean, it was a Saxon lodge, but it was a Saxon hunting ground before that. And then grew into this massive, it's basically a town in there, a whole royal town, spread over 3 separate wards with St George's Chapel as well, this incredible 16th century chapel that's in there, and absolutely well worth a visit if you've got time before or after the ride. And still, super popular place, and obviously it's made the town of Windsor extremely prosperous. It was one of the 50 most prosperous towns in Britain in the Middle Ages, and also it's one of the only places that actually doubled in wealth and income during the Black Death, whereas everybody else got badly stripped by the population getting halved. Windsor apparently really, really thrived during that period, mainly because of the royal residence and supporting that here. So, really is one of the most remarkable places to come and visit in the UK. And the other time it really flourished was when they introduced the railways as well, because that meant heads of state could actually come to the castle and meet the Queen, and she could entertain them here. So yet another place that the railways really brought some life into. And now you can fly into Heathrow, not far away as well. Right, so we're heading off now at Windsor. So be careful, because it is busy. We're just going to pop across onto the bike path now to roll out of town. Yeah. And there's a handy hurricane to start the ride. So, at the moment we're rolling out of suburban Windsor. This might not be the start you were expecting for a royally themed Royal Park route, but unfortunately you can't get straight into Windsor Royal Park on the bike from the town, and so we're just looping around on what is actually Route 4 of the National Cycle Network, although you'd be very hard pressed to spot the signs because in some places they're just little stickers. There's actually one on this signpost up ahead here, but still nice quiet roll out of Windsor itself. And now we're past Windsor FC and into the park itself. Now I'm not sure how much filming I can actually do in the park without a license, but so if there's no more filming in the park, you know why, but we'll catch up later. And Windsor Great Park is indeed a great park. I mean, it's 5,000 acres as it stands, but it used to cover a much bigger area than that, and it's been a royal hunting ground since the Saxon times. Edward the Confessor was a big fan, and then really ramped up from kind of the 1300s onwards. But it's got all sorts of phases here. Even had an airfield in it during 1920s to the 1950s, and was used for storing Wellington bombers during the Second World War, but also famous for some, you know, ornate buildings, obelisk. There's the mausoleum to Prince Albert. There's even some Egyptian ruins got imported from Libya for decorative purposes here. So and just a beautiful place to come and ride your bike in this huge wide open deer park land. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for red deer as you're rolling through, because they're bigger than you are. And as Steve says, it's a lovely place to visit all year round, particularly in winter when it's actually rutting season. So if you're on a mountain bike, watch out if you're riding really wide handlebars, because you never know, a stag might take exception to it and try and knock you off the whatever the deer equivalent of tinder is. But apart from that, traffic free, just a glorious place for some time travel gravel. This is absolutely glorious riding. Just come across through the village in the centre, the estate workers. Right, so just come through Windsor Great Park, and I wish I could have filmed properly in there, but you know, I don't want to get a fine. So I can just tell you that it actually wasn't what I expected. I thought it'd be more of a sort of London Park, Hyde Park, Regent's Park bit, but the part we went through is kind of beautiful, open sort of prairie deer park, really. And then you got the village for the estate workers with its little post office and its little social club. It's got a school as well. Well, Steve, your lads went there, didn't they?
Yeah, one of my my eldest went there.
So yeah, Steve's got pictures of his lad meeting the Queen on school open days. So yeah, I mean, but beautiful wide open cycling space, really. And also you can turn off within the park and head down to Runnymede, the water meadow where they signed the Magna Carta. That's down on the side of the Thames. So, you know, even if you only just got a bit of time, riding out of Windsor and through the Great Park is a fabulous. And now we're coming through Royal Ascot, home of the what, down here? Wow. Was not expecting that. Home of the most prestigious and wealthiest horse racing week in the UK. Royal Week at Ascot, 5 days, 500 horses racing, over 7 million prize money, and we're rolling out through this fabulous tunnel onto the course itself now. But obviously, you know, be very careful riding through here. It's a lovely, I mean, lovely day for riding at the moment, but be careful riding through here, because you don't want to upset a horse, because some of them are even more expensive than an e-bike. Ridiculous amounts of money. And we've just walked across the racetrack here, because there is racing on here today. But normally, when you ride out, you actually come through this channel here, because this whole section of grass is actually on little rails and wheels, so it slides out, so they can use it as a vehicle access, so you don't have to worry about worrying the grass. That's the level of fancy that Ascot is.
Left.
Huge trees.
Left.
This is Ascot at its finest. You know, no wonder this is, I think, the 13th most expensive place to buy a house in the UK, 10th most expensive to rent, average house price of over £1 million, and here's one of the local residents. Leading photographer and our host for the day. And if you know anything about UK, well, global mountain biking, and you've seen photographs of all the classic moments in it, there's a very good chance that have been taken by Mr. Steve Bear over on our left there. So he's very graciously agreed to show us around his millionaire's manor, and he's going to kill me for this at the end. Probably not as much as Jill, his wife, will, but there you go. Live dangerously, eh? So I don't think it's something they say a lot in Ascot, on a general rule. But it is a lovely place to ride through.
So we're now again on a lovely bridle path, and this has been a great mix of bridle path and very leafy, lovely roads and streets. I'm so amazed how lovely and open the countryside is here. And it's looking so golden in the sunlight. But you are under flight path for Heathrow, so hello everyone on the plane.
We'd rather be here down here though. Lovely. Stay in England.
Stay in England. It's lovely.
Explore where you are. And this is a church at Warfield. Beautiful little. Originally a Norman church, like a lot of the places around here, but several later additions as well. Gorgeous little place. We've got a typical for Ascot traffic jam ahead. We've got horses ahead. And oh, more horses ahead. Morning. Thanks very much. Thank you. Nay, bother. And this, as you can see, is Ferny Grove farm shop, coffee shop and butchers, which is perfect little refuelling stop. Kind of how far are we around the route from Windsor now here, Steve?
Very good question.
About 2/3, I'd say, you know, using my not local knowledge.
Yeah, it's probably
about 2/3. Yeah, we're about 2/3 of the way around the route here. So if you're on a 3-stop fueling strategy, then this is just off the track and spot on. And now we're rolling along past Choridge Nature Reserve. Morning. I'm amazed how much, like Mrs. K was saying a minute ago, I'm amazed how much gravel and just wide open countryside there is around here. You'd think with it being such an affluent area.
Bluebells in this wood in the season.
Oh, Steve says amazing bluebells in bluebell season, but also the nature of the tracks we're riding over, really good all-weather surfaces, so really well drained. This will work all year round. But yeah, so we're literally under the flight path for Heathrow, and in this much kind of, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised really after having done King Alfred's Way for Cycling UK. You know, it really is surprising how much brilliant off-road riding there is in this so close into London. And now we're rolling down into Thames Valley, flying a really big red kite. So that's the other thing. I mean, obviously we've just been past that nature reserve, but it's a really, really nature-rich area as well. I've already seen sparrowhawks, herons, lots of very nice horses, but you know, butterflies playing here as well. You know, I think Steve said we're about 30 miles from Piccadilly Circus here, but you could be in the middle of nowhere. It really is wonderful. And this is the beautiful village of Holyport. You've got a duck pond there, and interestingly, Holyport isn't as pretty and holy as it sounds.
Oh, right.
It actually relates to the name Horigport, which means muddy market. But as you can see, there's some beautiful medieval houses, big villas all the way around. There's two very nice pubs. This one's very nice for a quick pub bite to eat or a drink. And this village is rumoured to be where King Charles II came for his liaisons with famous blousy fruit merchant and royal mistress Nell Gwyn. And there's another pub here as well called the Eagle, but they actually had to change the name of it because they had German prisoners locally who were in the habit of saluting the Imperial Eagle as they went past. So they actually changed its name to the Belgian Arms, as you can see. Oh, here it is. Here's the Belgian Arms itself. And beautiful, you know, yet again, lovely, lovely area this. And this is absolutely beautiful. And you don't actually have to come through this little back lane through Holyport, but Steve tipped us off that it was a lovely little picturesque loop around to add, and I would thoroughly recommend it, even if my GPS doesn't seem to be agreeing with me. Lovely shutterboarded. So, just rolling down the splendidly named Monkey Island Lane, back to the Thames. You've got the marina over there. I was going to say, you would think this might be quiet, but I don't just mean, you know, hedge strumming, but there's also a little aggregate quarry, and there's a water sports place, and there's a marina. So it's actually, oh, there you go, beautiful little tributary. It's actually quite busy, so go steady with the traffic. And now we're actually rolling down National Cycle Network 4. There's a few gates, so if you're on a long bike or a wide one, that could be a bit of a wriggle through here. And here we are, crossing the Thames. 215 miles long in total, which makes it the longest river in England. Not quite, entirely in England. The Severn's actually longer, but bits of that are in Wales. So, yeah, bit of a pest to get through on a bike. Steve says these gates are new. So, like one of those Christmas puzzles getting through here. But apart from that, it's all cycle path. And now we're going to go past the Olympic Rowing Centre. Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Steve says, walk over the bridge. That's why these barriers are here. So walk over the bridge, be polite, and we'll keep access like this open. Cheers. There's a ladies' quad scull going upriver. So we were going to pop into Eton Dorney Lake, because it was actually paid for by Eton as their own rowing arena, but yeah, this is where they did all the rowing and also some of the kayaking events for the 2012 Olympic Games. Had over 400,000 visitors over the course of the Games, and was voted most popular, most popular kind of sports arena of the whole Games in London. And it's still used for triathlons and stuff, but we're not quite sure why. I mean, Steve doesn't know why either. It's currently closed until at least September 22. Which is a shame, because it's actually a 400-acre park that you can normally ride around, and it's a really pleasant place to come. And, you know, and obviously still used for rowing events, and they're always fun to watch. But closed at the moment, so we're going to roll on. And I have to say, we might not have been able to get into Dorney at the moment, but the lake itself is nearly 1.5 miles long, and this path down alongside it is a lovely ride. And you still get, if you glimpse through the hedge, I'm not going to try and do it now because it's a bit twisty, but oh, there you go, you can see ahead. You still get a good view of the lake. And there's the Olympic rings and the stadium as well at the finish line. I think we did really well in the rowing as well. So, yeah, a decade ago, lots of cheering going on here. And this is the church of St Mary Magdalene in Bovary, and it's actually there's probably prehistoric place of worship under here, and maybe a Roman temple as well, but definitely a Saxon church. And a lot of this building dates from around 1260, and it was actually, it was decommissioned in 1975, and it was actually going to be demolished until local volunteers, like this fine chap you can see in the doorway, stepped in and formed a rescue group, and here it still stands today. Beautiful example of a flint and cobble church, right here on the edge of Eton, because the Thames is just there. So lovely little spot to stop off on the final furlong back into town. And it's actually being cleaned up today because it's Mary Magdalene's feast day, so they're having a special service here, 4 o'clock this afternoon. You can see the beautiful old medieval beams in there. There's even, bless you, there's even a bit of original medieval fresco on the wall there. What a fantastic place. Well, thanks very much indeed for letting us in.
It's open all the time now.
Yeah. And it's open all the time, is it?
Yes, it used to be locked up, except for because it's only open 4 times. There's a service 4 times a year.
Right.
But now they've decided, it still is 4 times a year.
Yeah.
But now they've done a survey or something, and it was far better to have the doors left open. Peter, who lives in the house along there,
Right.
he's got the keys. And
Look at that door.
it is far better to leave it open, because if it's locked, everybody's curious, inquisitive, want to know, what it's like. So it's best to leave it open, and that stops all the vandalism.
Oh, but how wonderful.
Yes.
Isn't that great?
It stops all the vandalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing in here. There's no collection boxes, nothing like that.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Nothing.
Well, nothing ephemeral like that. There's just so much in here, though, isn't there?
Oh yes.
So many fancies.
There's history.
These pews could sell some stories for sure.
Yes. Everything in here. But it's not. I mean, if they wanted to take these away, they'd just fall down, I suppose.
Yeah.
No.
Because it's Saxon in date, isn't it, originally? And then there's an original Saxon church on the site, isn't there, I think?
I'm not quite sure about what it is.
And then it really flourishes Norman and early medieval.
10th century.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you very much indeed.
That's all right.
Have a lovely service.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of the day.
And now we're rolling along National Cycle Network 4, right alongside the Thames.
And here we are in Windsor. What a view!
What a way to
Lovely.
finish the ride. And here we are. And here we are in the heart of Eton. At Eton College, we're just down from chapel. And the whole, I mean, Eton was just a tiny little hamlet until King Henry set up Eton College, ironically, as a poor boys' school for 70 poor boys who would then go on to study at King's College, Cambridge. And now it's the world's most famous public school. It's still one of only 3, so all boys, all boarding. And while it was started as a poor boys' school, you can pay up to £50,000 a year to send your young chap here. But if you do, he is got a fair chance of becoming, one of the it has an amazing history of supplying prime ministers and famous Englishmen out into the empire as it was then and the world today, and still, very, very prestigious college this. And pretty much the whole town. I mean, Eton is basically just the north side of the river to Windsor, but pretty much the whole town and its economy and the tourist trade and everything revolves around Eton College. Unfortunately, it's summer recess at the moment, so there are none of the students around, but you'll know them if you see them, because they still wear sort of tailcoats and top hats, and the uniform is very striking, I would say. Kind of like, I think, business penguin rather than smart casual, and you're pretty much there. That's fine, love. What we got now?
This is Eton Bridge.
And this is where we cross over to Windsor. Fantastic. Right, so we're back in Windsor again at the Cinnamon Cafe, which is a very cyclist-friendly cafe right in the centre of Windsor in the old station. So just stopped for one of their massive cinnamon buns to refuel after this ride. But most of all, I just hope you've really enjoyed coming along with me, Sarah and Steve, on this ride. I mean, I'm new to the area, and I've been, I do the research beforehand, so I knew all about the history, and there certainly looked like to be some interesting areas we were riding through. But I'm amazed how much great riding, especially great gravel riding, there's been on this route, and what a lovely loop it has turned out to be. And obviously super close to London, really easy to get to from the train station or the motorway or however one you want to get here. Super easy access, lots of facilities en route to stop and shop and eat and have a wee if you need, if you're, creaky and leaky like we are. Normally it's me and Sarah who do this sign off, but she's too busy chatting to Steve, so I'm not going to interrupt. So for now, it's me, Guy Kesterman, Sarah Kesterman, and our host for today, Steve Bear, legendary mountain bike photographer, having taken you around a time travel gravel route around Windsor Great Park, Ascot, Eton and the surrounding area for pedallingpast.com. We really hope you've enjoyed riding with us.